Welcome everyone to today's live class. Let's see who is here already. Oh, that's right. I have to check on the computer. Let's see. Token, Cheryl, Grant, James, Small, Arlie. Oh yeah, two of my mods are here, Arlie and Chris. Welcome both of you guys. And let's see who else is here. Lynn. Hey Lynn. And I saw one more. Pora. That's right. Or do you prefer I pronounce it with Korean pronunciation as Pora? Or do you prefer I just say it as Bora with my native English, American English pronunciation? Welcome everyone. For those of you who are new, we're going to get started at 2 o'clock. I'm just getting some stuff set up still. And the classes, they always start at 2, but we start a little bit early just to do some announcements, talk about how everything's going. First of all, happy Valentine's Day to everyone who is watching this instead of spending time with their significant other. I truly appreciate it. We are going to, let's see, we've got about 12 minutes for announcements. So first, make sure you're good with these prerequisites today before we start. I know there are a lot of prerequisites, but you want to make sure you know these before we start. Of course, yes, today is a beginner lesson. Now, that doesn't mean it's only going to be for beginners. For those of you who are watching and you're intermediate level or advanced level, there will be some content for you as well. Yes, we're going to be doing an intermediate form as well as 2 advanced forms after we finished our beginner lesson for today. So for the beginner portion though, you just need to make sure you know how to conjugate verbs in, the general tenses. So past tense, present tense, future tense, progressive tense. Those basic ones are good enough for today. You also want to be familiar, of course, with using markers. So if you're still having trouble using markers, well, this lesson is still too advanced for you. Even if you're a beginner, you want to make sure you have markers down really well before you do this lesson, or at least before you start using this lesson. Let's see. I've been married 22 years. Valentine's Day Korean lessons is not an issue. That's good. When you're secure enough in your relationship that your partner doesn't mind if you watch Korean lessons on Valentine's Day, that's the way to go. Where if you're back in college or when you're dating someone for the first time, it's like, oh my goodness, if I don't spend every waking second with this person, they're gonna think I hate them. But then you get married and you're married for a few years and then you're like, yeah, they like me. We can do whatever we want. Other announcements are, if you are a Patreon member, you can download a worksheet for today's live stream right now. I think there are 12 example practice questions that you can try translating on there. And after this lesson's over, you'll be able to get this full worksheet, this full outline of today's lesson as well, with every sentence we're going to do, as well as all of the explanations that I'm going to give. Of course, I wrote this, but you can get access to it after this live stream finishes, as long as you're a Patreon member. Other announcements are, let's do this one. There is merchandise. If you want another way to support me, or just if you're a fan and you want to walk around your hometown wearing Go Billy Korean merchandise, I've got you covered. I've got sweaters, phone cases, cups, stickers, everything, shirts. And I'll pin something to the chat. That's just something to check out. I do have a couple of them as well. So maybe if you see some guy walking around somewhere in LA wearing one of them, it might be me. Okay. Other announcements. We've still got a few more minutes before we need to start. Make sure to check out our free Discord channel if you'd like a place to go for just practicing Korean or interacting with other people who are studying Korean. It's open all the time. Yeah, again, completely free. And there's a link in the description of this video to join everyone else there. Also, final announcement is if you are a member of this channel, you also get access to watch all of these live videos before everyone else. You get to watch the abridged version. I edit these down to about 10 minutes and you can rewatch them. If you're a member, you'll get this video tonight. And if you're not a member, you can still watch it. It'll be a little later in the week, usually Wednesday or Thursday. That is all of our announcements for today. So I'm going to erase the prerequisites, and I've got time for just a few questions before we get started with our lesson for today, which again is going to be beginner, intermediate, and advanced level. Wearing my Go Billy shirt and sipping out of my Go Billy mug right now. Nice. Got your Go Billy pants, sitting on your Go Billy sofa within your government, your rent controlled Go Billy house. And your, okay. Yes, that's right. That's the Discord link. Chris just posted that. Thank you. And yes, of course, we do have a new emoji. You like how I pronounce that. If you are a member, you also get access to all of the special emojis, or is it emotes? I guess it's emotes, whatever. You get access to those little cool icons you can post. Those are members only, as well as getting a little tag next to your name if you're a member. Hey! 하동현. 형님, 새해 복 많이 받으세요. 방송 잘 보고 있습니다. Oh, really? Thank you. 감사합니다. Oh, yeah, he paid it in Korean won, so he's 한국 분이시겠죠? 하동현이었지. 현. 2,000원 감사합니다. You had to put 2,000 there. Yes, you are welcome to donate in dollars or in Korean won. Both are usable. It's late here and I have a seminar tomorrow, but I will be here for some time. Okay, nice. Hey, Ann Samnida, welcome. Let's see. Oh, Bethany says, I finally got your first textbook and workbook. Happy to have something without romanization. Yes. Happy to be here for the lesson, but I have to get up to work. Oh, no. Yeah, that was, I was pretty proud of that when I made the book. That one of the things I really wanted to do is stay as far away from romanization as possible, because I used romanization when I was first learning Korean in the very beginning. So this was like spring or early summer of 2005 when I was first getting into Korean. And my book had some romanization in it. And I remember, I didn't know at the time, I was a beginner. I didn't know, but it was hurting me. And even though I was going through some grammar lessons, I wasn't able to really understand very well because I was stuck on romanization that they had given me in the book. And it kept listing romanization underneath the Korean, underneath the Hangul. It had romanization with it, and it really hurt because I kept looking down at that. And as a result, I never got very far. I think I didn't even get past the second chapter in that book, and I almost completely gave up Korean because of that. So I knew that when I was writing my book, I was not going to use any romanization. Tomato with potato. Hey, welcome, tomato with potato. Or is it tomato with potato? You tell me. No dabs for Ha Donghyun. Oh yeah, I guess Donghyun gets 2 dabs too. Thank you. Where did you get the emojis? I made them. I'm glad you like them. They are also all animated. But if you want to see the animations, I think you have to check them out in my Discord channel, because there you can see them animated. But on YouTube, only members get to even use those. So yeah, if you see someone in here using a cool emote or has some icon next to their name, those are all members in the chat. Amethyst, welcome. I'm watching from the Philippines. I always love watching your lessons. I always find new learnings. Cool. Philippines. I used to have a friend from Philippines. Oh, I do have a friend right now who's Filipino, but when I used to have a friend too who's Filipino. One of my friends was often traveling to the Philippines. When I was in high school, my best friend at the time, I guess I had 2. My best friend at the time, he went to the Philippines a few times. I guess his girlfriend was Filipino. And he came back and he gave me like a this time was like 2003, I think, or 2002. And he gave me like a $5 bill or something. It looked like $5 from the Philippines. And I'm like, thanks. Like, I don't need $5. He's like, someday you can come visit me in the Philippines and this will buy you like a month's worth of rent or something. He said like that. Was that true? Were things like that cheap or something? I was like, wow. So I still have that. But yeah, I just remember him telling me that. Let's see. I used to have friends. Yes. True. Your videos have been so helpful. I'm so glad I finally am able to join a live stream. Yes, welcome. We always have new people in every live stream that I do. And we'll get, if you're just now arriving here, we're going to get started at 2:00. So don't worry, you're not late. And I'm not just wasting time. We're waiting. First time seeing your live. I am from Brazil. Nice. Welcome. Just reading all your guys' comments. Don't worry, we'll get started soon. Hi, Billy. I love the way you teach. Thank you. Hello from Turkey. I was just talking about Turkey, actually. Because something that I like to cook sometimes is, I can't pronounce it, but kumpirs? Kumpirs, you know, those baked potatoes? I love those. And I saw a video of some people making them once, and I'm like, I have to make it. So I found recipes and I found pictures, and me and my wife have made them now maybe about, I don't know, 20 times. We made it a lot. Maybe like once every couple months we'd make it. We keep adding more and more things until they're like this big. And then I looked and I found out that like Turkey has so much cool, amazing looking food. And a lot of it I actually already knew. I just didn't know it was Turkish food. So it would be nice to visit there someday, but I don't know if that'll ever get to happen. But yeah, anyway, just look like a lot of good food over there. Strange, because I was just talking about that for lunch, actually. I'm from boring USA. It's not boring here. It depends where you live. Some places, yeah, some places are kind of boring. Depends where you're from. But USA is quite big, remember? See, I'm near LA, so it's anything but boring here. There's always stuff to do. Of course, most of the time I'm just in my house doing nothing, but there could be so many things I could do. Fiesta time from Mexico. I always say this. My grandma was actually Mexican. I know I don't look it at all. I don't speak Spanish. No hablo español. But my grandma's Mexican. So I have a little bit of connection to Mexico. And I think I had like 10%. Maybe, is it 10%? Yeah, I think I have like 10% Mexican blood because of that. Something like that. It doesn't make any sense. Because I know I don't look Hispanic at all. I'm in LA too, in the suburbs. Well, you say you're in LA, it's a pretty big area. You could, you know. I'm in Buffalo, New York, land of the buffalo chicken wings. Hello from Belgium. I'm 15 and currently learning Korean because I really want to live there. That's pretty big. Make sure you do your research. Visiting is one thing. Living is another thing. You'll want to make sure that you have your expectations in check. So it can be really great. I totally love staying there. And normally I am there about 3 months or so every single year. So it's kind of my second home, although I'm not living there permanently always. And there's a lot of great stuff. I just see some people who go there to live there and love it, and other people go there to live there and then they're like disappointed and they come back to their home country. As long as you look up, you research clearly what are the pros and cons of living there, I think it's great. For me, I could totally imagine myself living over in Korea, just as I could living over here. Okay, we will get started with our lesson now. So today's lesson will be a beginner topic. Yes, how long has it been since we've done a beginner lesson? It's been too long. The grammar form we're going to be learning is... Oops, let me actually write this with a different color so it doesn't get mixed in with that over there. Okay. Let me write it up first. Actually, plus, this is going to be the easiest grammar form you've ever learned. And I know that there are other simple grammar forms like this, but no, trust me. This is the easiest grammar form you're ever going to learn. This is it. You take an action verb. So what is an action verb? Well, any verb that's doing something. So going, doing, eating, seeing, anything like that. You take its stem. So you chop off the da. You chop off the ta at the end. So you get the stem, and then you attach ta, ma, ja, and you finish the rest of the sentence. Now, that's all you have to do. You never have to change this tense. It's always just the verb stem, as is. Hada is always going to become 하자마자 in this form. You could never have past tense verb stem with this. So you could never say 했자마자 or anything like that. What this means is as soon as. Now, what does as soon as mean? What does as soon as mean? What does this mean? Well, it means immediately after, right? Literally, 타마자 means immediately after. Literally, it does not mean as soon as. And there is something that we'll have to talk about why that's important a little later. You can just think of this as meaning as soon as, though, for this form. So this form means as soon as, which literally means immediately after. So if you have action verb A, and then you follow this form with B, then you get as soon as A happens, or immediately after A happens, B. And B can be anything. B can be any sort of action. Something happens, present tense. Something happened, past tense. Something will happen. Or even commands, do something as soon as or immediately after A happens. That's all that there is to this beginner form. Really, that's why I think this is one of the easiest grammar forms you'll ever learn. Because that's it. There are no restrictions on what action verbs you can use this with. There are no restrictions on what actions have to come after, or what form it's used, or what tense you use after. This is it. Once you do this, stem, tamada, you're done with this form. We will be doing a different form, though, after this, which is just ta. That is not the same as tamada. That has a lot of restrictions. That's more of an intermediate, maybe even upper intermediate form. And you'll see why that's quite different. But this one, this is all there is to it. Once you've gotten here, you're done. So just to restate, be must be another action. So after this form, you can't say, as soon as this happens, I am green. That is funny. Like, it doesn't make any sense, right? To say with a descriptive verb. It wouldn't make any sense to use this with a descriptive verb. It has to be an action. So you couldn't say immediately after I go to the store, grass is blue. Strawberries are delicious. Like, there is nothing that could make sense with a descriptive verb. I am Billy. As soon as I walk in the room, I am Billy. Like, it doesn't make any sense. It has to be an action. So you can say, although it doesn't make sense, you could say, as soon as I walk in the room, I become a teacher. That's okay because become is an action, but you can't use it with a descriptive verb. So just keep in mind, it has to be an action verb on both sides of this equation. I could keep explaining this over and over again, but that's it. That's this form. That's all there is to it. Let's do some example sentences. And then for all of you who are more intermediate, don't worry. I've got something for you, something really special, as well as a very advanced form we're going to be doing today. Okay. 들어가다. Actually, let me write this all down before I start explaining it. Now, although this is a beginner lesson, I apologize. Some of the sentences might not be so beginner. That's just because, I don't know, I thought they sounded good. But the sentences might not be so as low of beginner, but the form itself is totally fine for beginners to use. Okay. 들어가다. So, 제가 들어가자마자 조용해졌어요. 조용해졌어요. So, 제가 들어가자마자. Well, what is 들어가다? 들어가다 is to enter in somewhere. So, to go inside. So, 제가, I go inside. Immediately after I go inside. Literally. Or we would just say, as soon as I go inside. So, as soon as I go inside, 조용하다 is to be quiet. 조용해지다 is an action verb. So, 조용하다 is just a descriptive verb. you couldn't use 조용하다. But you could use 조용해지다, which is an action verb and means to become quiet, to get quiet. So 조용해졌어요. It got quiet. Action. As soon as I went inside, it got quiet. Right? So you're walking in the room. Hey, everyone, how's it going? And everyone stops talking. They're probably talking about you, or they just really didn't want to see you. But as soon as you went inside, the place got quiet. That's weird, right? Like, hey, everyone, you didn't invite me to the party. I thought I'd just stop by. And then everyone's like, dude, Billy, you're not supposed to be here. Like that. 제가 들어가자마자 조용해졌어요. As soon as I went inside, it got quiet. Okay. So really, if you want to make this in the past tense, again, you do not make the verb itself using 자마자 in the past tense. All you do is you make it at the end of the sentence. So this one was 조용해졌어요, past tense. So as soon as I go inside, not as soon as I went inside. As soon as I go inside, it got quiet. So any tense you want to give to the sentence, if you want to make it a command or future tense or past tense or present tense, that all goes at the end of the sentence after 자마자. All right. Let's do a sentence. I want you guys to try to make this sentence. I want you guys to make this sentence. I'm going to give you some words. If you are more intermediate, go ahead and try making the sentence right now. I'm going to give you some words that might help with this. As soon as I sat down, so sit down is 앉다. You can also use 자리에 앉다, literally sit down in my seat. Movie is 영화, and start is 시작하다. 시작하다. So as soon as I sat down, the movie started. I want you guys to make the sentence. And meanwhile, I'll check out the chat. Yeah, it's weird I didn't use 철수. It could be 철수가 들어가자마자 조용해졌어요. That's probably more realistic. Yeah. Small, very good. And 섭니다, very good. Faith Faulkner. 시작됐어 could also be okay. That's more like the movie was started. Like someone else started it. It was started. But if you just want to say the movie started, you can just use 시작하다 as is. So yeah, you're not wrong, but it's not quite started as it means was started. 빌리 선생님의 수업을 보자마자 행복해졌어요. As soon as I saw Billy's class, I felt happy. Perfect sentence. Wonderful. 제가 앉자마자 Lynn. 영화가. Or I guess you could say 영화를 시작했어요. They started the movie. Okay. Not going to be too picky here. I marked, remember, it's the stem. It is not a conjugated form. You want the verb stem. 제가 앉자마자 영화 시작했어요. Okay, Celso, you want a marker in there. 제가 앉자마자 영화가, something like that. 영화가, as well as Najma, you also want a subject marker in there. 앉아 있자마자, nope. As soon as I am sitting down, the movie started. Not as soon as I am sitting down, as soon as I sit down. Just like we would do in English. Jewel. Hey, thanks, Jewel. Get your 5 dabs. I'm still learning Hangul on your channel, but this is my second live. You make learning fun. Yeah, thanks again. Okay, Jordy, 앉자마자 영화가. You also want to make sure you're not forgetting your markers. You want to use markers. 시작했어요. 자리에 앉자마자 영화가 시작했어요. Yeah, I see a lot of people missing a marker. Just keep that in mind. 앉자마자 영화가 시작했어요. Nice, Arlie. 따라서 영화를 checking here. Just checking a few other sentences. Movie starts. 앉자마자 영화가 시작해요. The movie starts as soon as I sit down. Okay? All right. A few notes. Overall, great job. I do want to give a few notes. So I'm going to give you my sentence. Here we go. 자리에, I'm adding 자리. 자리 just means a seat. Your spot, your space, your seat. 자리에 앉자마자. So as soon as I sat down in my seat. 자마자 영화가. So let me write it a little bit nicer for you guys. 시작했어요. Couple things. I noticed a few people were forgetting to use a marker. Here, 영화가 시작했어요. Now, 영화 시작했어요. When Korean people speak, sometimes they will cut off the markers that can be assumed really easily. Of those, the number one marker that gets cut off most often is the object marker. Second most common marker to get cut off is the topic marker, and third common will be the subject marker. I recommend using the subject marker whenever you can. If you do not use the subject marker, a lot of times, especially with pronouns, this is more of an advanced note, but especially with pronouns, if you don't use the marker, Koreans assume it's the topic marker, not the subject marker. So if you say 나 그 영화를 좋아해. 나 그 영화를 좋아해. They're not going to think you're saying 나가, 내가. They're not going to think you're saying anything else. Or if you say 이거 재밌어요. They're not going to think you're meaning 이것이. With the subject marker, they're going to think you meant 이것은. As well as 나 이거 좋아해. They're going to think you said 나는. If you cut it off, they're going to assume it's the topic marker or the object marker most of the time. I recommend not cutting off the subject marker unless it's very clear. In this one, it's probably pretty clear because you know the topic is 나는, I. It's not stated, but it's the topic. 자리에 앉자마자 영화 시작했어요. If you say that, they're going to assume it's 영화가 because there's nothing else it could be. But if you were to cut it off normally, 영화 시작했어요, and you're talking about someone else, and then you say 영화 시작했어요, it could be in some situations, like depending who else you're talking about, assumed you're saying someone else started the movie or the movie was started. And this isn't a very good example for explaining this difference. The point I want to make is don't remove the markers unless you're 100% sure of what you're doing. And if you're going to remove the marker anyway, like you don't care what I'm saying, just do it with the object marker or maybe the topic marker. The subject marker is a bit more delicate, like I said, in that when you remove it, it can be a bit more vague which one you're talking about. Or especially in quotes, if you're saying, I said someone did something, it can be a bit vague who did what, or if the other person is an object, if you just cut off the markers. But especially with the subject marker, I recommend keeping it unless it's really clear otherwise. Okay. 자리에 앉자마자 영화가 시작했어요. 자리, my seat, my space, my spot. 자리에 앉자마자, 앉다, to sit down. As soon as I sit down, or literally immediately after I sit down in my seat, 영화, the movie, 시작했어요. The movie started. The movie started as soon as I sat down in my seat. 자리에 앉자마자 영화가 시작했어요. Okay. That was just our second example. We have a few more. Don't worry if you're still kind of trying to get the form, we have a few more sentences for that to happen. Okay, I'm going to do another sentence. 만나자마자. This time is 만나자마자. So this is going to be from the verb 만나다, meaning to meet. And then we're going to have a new phrase here. I don't know if you know this phrase. 사랑에 빠지다. Literally, to get stuck in love. 빠졌대요. Now, if you don't know this teo form, that's fine. That's more for intermediate learners. That is just a quoting form. 빠졌다고 해요. I heard. 빠졌대요. If you're not too sure about quoting forms either yet, that's fine. Just think that this says 빠졌어요. 사랑에 빠졌어요. 두 사람은 만나자마자. So 두 사람, two people. So when the two people met, 만나자마자, immediately after the two people met, or as soon as the two people met, as soon as the two met, 사랑에 빠졌어요. You can think of it like that. 사랑에 빠졌대요. Or 사랑에 빠졌어요. They fell in love. So the two people fell in love as soon as they met. Or literally, the two people, immediately after they met, they fell in love. 두 사람은 만나자마자 사랑에 빠졌어요. 사랑에 빠졌대요. Or again, 사랑에 빠졌어요. Okay. 두 사람은 만나자마자 사랑에 빠졌어요. I keep saying it the other way just because I remember it's a beginner course. I don't want to overwhelm you. 사랑에 빠졌대요 is what it actually says. And again, this is a quoting form. This is 타고해요, shortened. 타고해요 shortened becomes 돼요. 미세 돼요. Okay, let's check the chat for a second. 돼요 short for 타고해요. Yes, it is. Someone wrote 보자마자 사랑에 빠졌어요 before. Really? Did someone put that? I fell in love at first sight. Kind of. You can think of it like that. Yeah, sure. It's kind of like saying love at first sight. Okay. Next sentence. 여자친구는, so here 여자 is girl, 친구 is friend, so girlfriend. 점심 is lunch. Well, literally 점심 is like noontime, but you can think of it as meaning the meal you eat at noontime. So 점심을 끝내다. 끝내다 means to finish something. So 끝내자마자, as soon as she finished lunch, as in as soon as she finished eating her lunch. 디저트, that is what you think. Dessert. 를 사러 갔어요. This sentence is a bit longer. So to make it simpler, if you are still lower beginner, think of it like this. 여자친구는 점심을 먹자마자, 먹다, to eat. 점심을 먹자마자 디저트를 샀어요. Just think of it like that. Bought. 샀어요. 디저트를 샀어요. Or 디저트를 먹었어요. Just to kind of help you understand the sentence if you haven't yet learned this form or this verb. So now let's go over the sentence. 여자친구는, so my girlfriend, 점심, lunch, 끝내자마자, as soon as she finished lunch. 디저트, dessert, 사러 갔어요. She went to buy dessert immediately after finishing her lunch. Or as soon as she finished her lunch, she went to go buy dessert. 여자친구는 점심을 끝내자마자 디저트를 사러 갔어요. 여자친구는 점심을 끝내자마자 디저트를 사러 갔어요. Okay. Let's do... I want you guys to make this sentence. Wash your hands as soon as you arrive at home. Wash your hands. There is something different about this sentence. Wash your hands is a command. And you can do that with this 자마자 form. Now, this is significant. Beginners might not know this yet, depending on how far you're in Korean, but a lot of grammar forms in Korean are restricted in that they can only use this type of sentence ending. Like it has to be this type of verb. It cannot be a command or a suggestion after the form or stuff like that. It's really common in grammar forms. This form, though, doesn't care. You can use commands. You can use future tense, past tense, any tense you want. Even suggestions or commands after as soon as. So it's a really versatile grammar form for that. So let's talk about some grammar forms now. Go ahead and try it if you want, but let me give you some verbs to help you. Hands is 손. Wash. Well, when you're saying wash your hands, there are actually a few ways you can do it. We're just going to do with 씻다. And this is not irregular conjugated. This just conjugates normally. 씻다 is to rinse. Literally like to wash off, to rinse. The reason is there are several words for to wipe or to wash or to clean. Like if you're washing your laundry, it's different than than cleaning your house, than cleaning the table. This is for washing your hands and there's another word also for washing your hands. We're not going to do today. Okay. As soon as you arrive is 도착하다. 도착 means arrival. So 도착하다 is to arrive at 집, your home. So as soon as you arrive at home, wash your hands. Go ahead and try to make that sentence. Let's see. 고빌 채널 보자마자 구독 버튼을 눌렀어요. 천문영님, thank you. Perfect sentence. As soon as I saw GoBilly's channel, I pressed the subscribe button. That's great. 집에 도착하자마자 손을 닦으세요. You can use 손을 닦다. Yeah, 닦다 is more like to like wipe off your hands, to kind of clean your hands in that sort of sense. Doesn't necessarily need to be rinse though. 씻다 is like washing with water. 닦다 is more like wiping cleaning something in that sort of sense. So they use 닦다 for like cleaning the table. You could also use it for your hands and stuff, but you wouldn't use it for your face unless your face had something stuck to it. It's a bit complicated in that there's so many words, but yeah, that's fine. You can say that like that too. 하자마자 손을 씻어. Okay. 집에 도착하자마자 손을 씻으세요. Nice. 집에 오자마자 손을 씻으세요. So as soon as you come home, wash your hands. Okay. You could say that to someone like when you come here, like your mom's calling you and she's at home. 집에 오자마자 손을 씻어. Like that. Sure. Let's read your other sentences. 집에서 도착하자마자 아야카타, you don't need 에서. The reason is you're not doing anything at your house. You're not arriving. When you're at your house, you're not arriving. You're already there. Anything that shows movement, like motion, can use just e to show the location of that motion. So you arrive at your house. You're not arriving when you're at your house. You're not doing anything at your house. So it makes perfect sense though, but it's not the one you need to use. You can just use e for arrive. 도착하자마자 손을 씻으세요. Very nice. 집에서 도착하자마자 not 손이. Remember, you want to do action verb with the object since you are washing your hands. So 손을 씻으세요. Can you do a video on pronunciation of the Korean alphabet? Yes. Marie. Check out. I can't pronounce her name. Sorry. I have a beginner Korean course on my channel that covers all of the alphabet and completely free. You can find the playlist on my channel. I think I just uploaded a new video yesterday. Now, if you want pronunciation of Hangul, start from lesson 1, the very beginning. 하자마자 손을 씻으세요. 씻어요. Okay. Constants, slight typo, 씻으세요, because it ends in a consonant. It's 으세요, not 세요 for commands. 도착하다, Celine, 도착하다 for arrive. 오다 just means to come. But 오다 can be used with several other grammar forms. It doesn't always mean to arrive in every sense. 도착하다 though only means to arrive. So you could use 오다, but it has a different meaning. It's more like when you come here, when you've come home, to here where I am. 집에 도착하자. Harold, that would be a mismatch of politeness levels. if you're going to use casual speech in the beginning, you have to match it with casual speech at the ending. Or if you want to be sarcastic, then you would use still use something like formal at the beginning or some other word for you instead of a casual word for you. Otherwise, it won't sound like it matches. Okay, Melissa, very good. Okay, all right, great job. Overall, very good. Let me go over my answer, which is a little bit better, but that's because I'm the teacher. I'll give you some very good. Let me give you a new grammar form you can also learn in this. 집에 도착하다, so to arrive at home. So 도착하자마자. So immediately after arriving at home, 손부터. I'm gonna add this grammar form here. 씻으세요. 손부터 씻으세요. So two things I want to point out in the sentence. First of all, again, this is a command. You can use commands after this form. Again, just reinforcing how easy this grammar form is to conjugate. You get an action, get its stem, 자마자. And whatever you finish the sentence with has to also be an action. But that's it. You're not restricted in how you can use it. 집에 도착하자마자 손부터 씻으세요. So as soon as you arrive, 도착하다, at home, 손, your hands, 씻다, to wash, to rinse off. 손부터 씻으세요. Literally, wash from your hands. Wash from your hands. Literally, 부터 is used for from when you're saying from some sort of, often with time, or an action, in what order you're doing something. 부터. So this is from your hands, like from the action of your hands, wash. Literally like rinse, starting with your hands. Like, hey, first, wash your hands. You're probably going to have to take a shower. You're probably going to have to do cleaning. You're probably going to have to do other things. You do homework. But first, rinse, starting from your hands. This might sound a bit awkward. Why would you say starting from your hands instead of saying like starting when you get home or saying starting from your house? This is just a way of emphasizing that you want someone to do something by giving them a command, but saying start with whatever you tell them to do. This is the same thing in English, what we do where we just say first, do something. So when you get home, first, take out the trash. We don't mean the first thing you need to do is take out your trash so much as we mean you need to do things, the very first of which is take out, throw away, start with the trash, throw that away. You could say this in a slightly different way. If you're intermediate and you're already familiar with, you can also use this word, 먼저. 먼저 means before anything else. First of all, 먼저, first. 먼저 손을 씻으세요. You could say that. First, as soon as you get home, first thing, wash your hand. Or you can emphasize that you want them to wash their hands first. First, wash your hands. In that sort of emphasis showing way by putting 부터 after whatever the noun is that you want them to do something to. Whatever it is you want them to first do. So you're saying 씻으세요. First, wash up, starting with your hands. It's just more of emphasis to say wash your hands. When you get home, wash your hands first. That sort of thing. Like, hey, your hands are dirty. Wash those first. Not just first thing I want you to do is wash your hands, but I want you to wash your hands first. If that makes sense. If that doesn't make sense, if you want to say this type of thing, just use 먼저 and then say whatever command you want. Or whatever you did as soon as you arrived home. 집에 도착하자마자 먼저 밥을 먹었어요. As soon as I went home, the first thing I did was ate. 밥부터 먹었어요. The first thing I did was eat a meal. That was the most important thing that I did. It's just more emphatic. And you'll see both forms used. So yeah, 손부터 씻으세요. So wash literally from your hands. 부터, most of the time you'll see this used with time. So if you want to say like, I studied from 2 o'clock, 2시, until 3 o'clock, 3시. The way they do that is they say 2시부터, from, starting at 2 o'clock. 2시부터 3시까지, until 3 o'clock. 2시부터 3시까지 공부했어요. So I studied from 2 until 3 o'clock. I studied from 2 to 3 is what we would say. Okay. This was a bit more intermediate, but hopefully that made sense to at least a couple people here. Just a form you'll sometimes see, though. Okay, here's another useful verb. 냄새를 맡다. 냄새를 맡다, literally to, well, it's not really just literally. This is the meaning of it. To smell something. This is not the most common way of saying that something smells good or something smells bad. This is when you physically pick up a smell with your nose that you are like sniffing. So get a scent of, or catch the scent of, or something like that. 빵 냄새, the smell of bread. 빵 냄새를 맡다. So you sniff the smell of the bread, literally. Now, again, I said there's a different way to say something smells good or something smells bad. This is more like the physically you smelling something. 냄새를 맡자마자. As soon as I smelled the bread. 빵 냄새를 맡자마자. 배가, normally you'd say 배가 고파요. I'm hungry. But you wouldn't say, as soon as I smell the bread, I am hungry. As soon as I smell the bread, I felt hungry, right? Or I got hungry. In Korean, it's the same. 배가 고파졌어요. Became 고파지다. To become hungry. 빵 냄새를 맡자마자, as soon as, or immediately after I smelled the bread, 배가 고파졌어요. My stomach got hungry. 배가 고파졌어요. I felt hungry as soon as I smelled the bread. So as soon as I smelled the bread, I felt hungry. 빵 냄새를 맡자마자 배가 고파졌어요. Okay. You really write so fast. Yeah, I do write quite fast. 2 Korean teachers. Hey! 손 씻는 거 너무 좋아해요. Yes, I've become a hand washing master last year. I'll say that. I wash my hands so many times every day now. I'll wash my hands, of course, after using the bathroom, that's default. But then after I eat a meal, wash them. After I have a little dessert, wash them. Get a drink of water, wash my hands. Use the computer for an hour, wash my hands. 2 Korean teachers are also native 2 Korean teachers, hence the name. 제일 먼저 손부터 씻으세요. First of all, first wash your hands. Yes. 빵 냄새를 맡자마자 배가 고파졌어요. Okay. I know I've crashed their stream at least a couple times now, so I think it's their turn to crash mine. Okay. The next 4. Okay, so if you're a beginner, give yourself a pat on the back. That's all we're doing for that's all the beginning topic. Why can't I speak? That's all we're doing today for beginners. The next topic we're going to be doing is for intermediates. And when I say intermediate, it is high intermediate, okay? Now, this form is more than meets the eye. It's a little bit trickier than you might think. You take an action verb stem and you attach 자. So, first of all, this looks just like 자마자. And if I told you that this one also means as soon as, then you might be tempted to think, well, it's the same thing, ain't it? But you'd be wrong. This form, okay, first of all, is much less common. And I would say very rarely used in speech. This is used sometimes in written Korean, but it is much less common than 자마자. So if you just want to say as soon as, do not use this one ever. Never use this one to say as soon as. But it means as soon as. Kind of. It also has a different meaning. Actually, let's rewrite this. When you use this form, not only does it mean as soon as, but whatever you're saying after this form is also suggested to be the result of the first action, whatever comes before here, whatever is this verb. By that I mean, you're saying that the first action was required for the second one to happen. So that's kind of like saying because something, 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 as soon as something. So if you say A, ta, B, it's kind of like saying B happened because of A. So A, as soon as A happens, that led to B happening, is the meaning that you get. So while it does translate as soon as, it implies that A is what led to B happening. So because of A happening, as soon as A happened, that led to B happening. So it shows a connection between these two actions. That's not it. There are also some restrictions on this form. This form cannot be used with commands or suggestions. So I should say none. This cannot be used with any commands or suggestions. So you can't say, as soon as you get home, wash your hands. 집에 도착하자, 손부터 씻으세요. Doesn't make sense. It cannot be a command or a suggestion. Or, shall we wash our hands as soon as we get home? Like, first of all, who would say that? That's so weird. Second of all, it's grammatically wrong. You cannot use a command or a suggestion after this form. Because again, this shows that the second action is a result of the first. Therefore, it wouldn't make any sense to say, as soon as we go home, because we're home as a result of coming home, let's wash our hands. Like, it doesn't make sense. You have to say something happened as a result of something, right? So that brings us to our next restriction with using this form. Because it's used to show the connection between something that happens and then what that led to. So because it's used to show the result of an action, any sort of result has to be something that already happened, right? That means you must end this form with the past tense. So you can have 하자마자, and then the second part of the sentence has to be past tense. 했어요. You could not say 하세요, 할까요, 해요, 하고 있어요, 할 거예요. Anything like that. It has to be past tense. 했어요, or any variation on that. Otherwise, it's not going to make any sense. Okay? I hope that by showing you these rules, you will be convinced never to touch this form. And I'll give you guys, tell you guys a confession. I have to make a confession. Okay. I have never once used this form in my entire 16 years almost of studying Korean. I've never once written a sentence with this form or spoken a sentence. Now, I knew this form. It's pretty easy to understand, but I've never needed it because it's such a uncommon form that you'll find in like books or maybe someone's formal speech. Usually books, you'll find it in books, like written descriptions of stuff, you know, stories, novels, you'll see it there quite often, but not regular everyday speech. So because of that, if you're a beginner and you still want to learn this form, just learn that it means as soon as, but don't use it yourself until you know all the restrictions for it. So one more time, must be finished in the past tense. It's less common than tamaza. And the second action is suggested to be a result of the first. So the first action led to the second action happening. And it can't be used with any sort of command or suggestion, but that kind of goes with here. Anyway, if you just remember, it can only be used with the past tense. You don't even need to keep this in mind. So let's even condense it further. Only the past tense, and the second action is a result of the first. But if you can't even remember that, the second action is a result of the first. This is actually not so much a requirement for using this form as it is just what this form kind of entails when you use it. If you just do this, it's going to be correct, like 99% of the time. If you just remember that it has to end with the past tense, this will fall in line. You're not going to be able to use it as a command or a suggestion if you're doing it in the past tense. There's no past tense command. You goed there. Right now, you goed there. Like, it doesn't make any sense, right? it also, you're not going to need to remember it's the result of the first. It's going to imply that anyway, but you don't really have to keep that in mind. As soon as I went home, as soon as I opened the door, it got quiet. Well, it got quiet because I opened the door, sure, but you don't really have to keep that in mind. Just remember it's the past tense. So I'm going to condense this down to just one point. If you just keep this point in mind, then you can use the form if you really want to sound fancy. Maybe you're writing a topic and you want to sound really fancy on your essay. So you're like, 문을 닫자, 방이 갑자기, like, I don't know, whatever you want to say. Just keep this in mind and you can make your fancy schmancy sentence and get that extra point on the topic test. But if you're reading all of this, the most important one is this. This is less common than tamaza. Okay. That's all we need to know about this form. Let's give an example. Let me give you an example. Let's just check how the chat's going. 트위터에서 라이브 하신다는 글을 보자마자 라이브를 보러 왔어요. Oh, very nice. I'm just reading up one of the example sentences by two Korean teachers. Okay, let me give you an example sentence. 모두 자리에 oops, I was trying to write two different words at the same time. I shouldn't do that. 앉아. 불이 꺼졌어요. So again, note, it's the past tense. It ends in the past tense. As soon as. It's less common than saying tamaza. And I should also make this note. Every sentence using ta could be rewritten with tamaza. Although you might lose some of the meaning that shows one action is the the requirement of the second action. You kind of lose that meaning, but grammatically you can do it. So if you can't remember what it means, just translate it back to tamaza and then it'll make sense. 모두 자리에 앉아. 불이 what was that pronunciation? 불이 꺼졌어요. Be like, I don't know, is that like Gru from Despicable Me? 모두 자리에 앉아. I want to hear how Gru would speak Korean. I'm sure there's a Korean dub. I got to hear how he sounds. Anyway, 모두 자리에 앉아. 불이 꺼졌어요. So, as soon as everyone sat down, 앉다, in their seats, 자리에, 불, the lights, 불이 꺼졌어요. The lights turned off as soon as everyone sat down, implying that the lights turning off, implying that everyone sitting down was a condition for the lights turning off. So because everyone sat down, that led to the lights turning off in that sort of sense. Like it kind of implies causation, or I shouldn't even say causation so much as it's the requirement for the second part. So they were waiting, the lights were not turning off until everyone sat down. But as soon as everyone sits down, the lights turned off. That's the meaning that you get. So the lights turned off as soon as everyone sat down in their seats. 모두 자리에 앉아 불이 꺼졌어요. Okay. So I know what you guys are thinking. You're thinking, Billy, don't insult my intelligence. That was too easy for me. You called that high intermediate? I need something real. I need something challenging. Well, I've got something for you right here. And that is an advanced grammar form. Next, we're going to be doing a slightly more advanced grammar form that also means as soon as. And the way you do it is you also start with an action verb stem, and then you attach ki, which is the nominalization form, followed by ka, the subject marker. So you get kiga. Okay. Then, instead of adding tamaza or anything like that, we're going to add the adverb either 무섭게 or 바쁘게. 무섭게 is an adverb of 무섭다, meaning to be scared or to be afraid of something. So scarily or frighteningly. And 바쁘게 is an adverb of 바쁘다, meaning to be busy. So busily. So we have either scarily or busily. And then you finish the rest of the sentence. What does this form mean? Well, believe it or not, this form also means as soon as. Now, there are a few restrictions when we're using this form, but let's just first talk about it. Again, this is the action verb stem with ki, making it into a noun. So you have hada becoming hagi. So you have to do. Now you get doing. Well, doing ka. So we're going to be describing the act of doing something. 무섭게. Literally, it's an adverb, but you can think of it as meaning like so that someone is scared. Because when you attach this ke, although it transforms any descriptive verb into an adverb, literally what it's doing, and I taught this when I did my live stream about adverbs, is it adds the meaning of so that. Kind of like in order so that sort of meaning. So that someone is scared. So doing something in such a way so that someone is scared, or even so that someone is busy. That's the literal meaning. In that way, it means immediately after. You're doing something in such a way that it makes someone doing something immediately after something is so that someone is scared, or someone is busily, like doing something really busily, or doing something in a scary way. Well, this is used to imply that the way you're doing something is so quick right after doing something. So quick that it's scary, or that you're acting all like busy. You're doing something like busily or really scary, how fast you're doing it. So it's just used to emphasize that something happens right after something, immediately after something. That's it. This is a informal use only advanced level grammar form. You're not going to see this in newspapers, or you might see it in books. You're not going to see it in too many formal uses. This is more of an informal grammar form, but it just means as soon as, with more emphasis that it happened immediately after. In fact, so fast that it's scary in that sort of sense, or so fast that it's like really busy fast, in a busy way, like fast, busy, fast. I can't speak very well. I don't know why I'm a teacher. So yeah, it has a stronger and more exaggerated meaning. A note about this. This form is also just like ta. This form is much less common than tamata, so you will not see this one that much. But it's okay. Unlike ta, it's not only used in like fancy writing. This one is used just in more regular speech. But yeah, keep in mind this is less common. Check the chat for a second. 티티미께서 이미 배웠는데. Oh, nice. Yeah, I think Talk to Me in Korean might have... Talk to Me in Korean has a lot of lessons now, so they might have something on this too. And this is not used with commands or suggestions. It's just used to describe how fast something happened right after something else. So as soon as something else happened. So because of that, you're not going to be giving someone a command because they haven't done it yet. If it's a command, as soon as that happened, it was so fast, you do this. Like, it doesn't really make any sense. It's used for describing something that's already happening or happened, something that's already happened. It's used for something that's, already able to be described. So something that's already happened, not for commands or suggestions. So just keep that in mind. Okay. You can use it for something that's happening right now, though. Unlike ta, which is only past tense, this could be progressive tense or present tense or past tense, whatever, but just not commands or suggestions. Okay, so let's do an example sentence with this form. There's also another example sentence in the worksheet. If you want any more example sentences for any of the forms we're doing today, check out the worksheet. There are plenty more. I only do a couple in the live stream just for time, just for the sake of time. But yeah, there's plenty more in the live class worksheet, which is on Patreon. I don't have space here. Okay. 눈. 치우다 is to clear out, to clean up. 눈을 치우기가 무섭게. So immediately after clearing the snow, or as soon as I cleared the snow, so scarily fast, in that sort of sense, 또, again, 눈이 쌓이고 있어요. So the snow is piling up again, scarily fast again. Scarily fast, as soon as I cleaned it up. So let me say this more naturally. The snow was piling up again as soon as it was cleared. 눈을 치우기가 무섭게 또 눈이 쌓이고 있어요. 눈을 치우기가 무섭게 또 눈이 쌓이고 있어요. So the snow is piling up again, scarily fast, right after I cleaned it up, or someone cleaned it up. That's just to imply that it's exaggeratedly fast right after something happens. So as soon as something happens, it's kind of like as soon as the snow was cleared, it was right back there again, in that sort of sense, because it's snowing a lot. Right after I clean it up, it's already piling back up again. It's just scary. 무섭게. So much so that it is scary. Like that. Okay, but again, you could say 눈을 치우자마자 또 눈이 쌓이고 있어요. And that's fine too. As soon as I cleared up the snow, it's piling up again already. That sort of sense. So you can use it as 자마자 if you want, but this just gives you one more option that's very advanced. Okay. Whew. So we did 3 grammar forms today. We did one for beginner, one less common for intermediate, and then one advanced form. And that is all of the forms we're going to be learning for today. So we have a little bit of time left. Feel free to ask me any questions for the next 15 minutes or so. That was our lesson. We actually finished a little bit early. We finished, I think, 7 minutes early from what I was scheduling. Nice. So if you have any questions about the class today or just general Korean questions, feel free to ask those right now while I drink some of my warm tea. Okay. 저장할 거예요. Yes, all of them are saved. 문자 보내기가 무섭게 comes right after 기가. Because 무섭게 is emphasizing the how fast something happened. So you want to put it right after 기가. Lynn! Thanks, Lynn! Awesome. Thanks as always. You rock. Nice. Could it be used like 고양이는? No, remember you have to use 무섭게 or 바쁘게 with this form. If you just use it 기가, well, that's just the nominalization form. That doesn't have any emphatic meaning. And it doesn't make sense because the nominalization form is used. 기가, like that, is a regular grammar form that's nominalization for describing a noun with the subject marker. So it doesn't have any meaning. It wouldn't make sense if you took out the 무섭게 or 바쁘게 at the end. General Kentucky. I missed everything, but I will of course watch it. LOL. Nice. Make sure to do that. Mika, thank you so much. I was low-key unmotivated to continue studying, but now I feel, well, that's good. At least if it lasts for a day, that's always good. Success. Can I say, presto potato? Can I say 나 문자 보내기? No, again, like I said, you have to use the grammar form the way I explained it, or else it won't make sense. Because it's an emphatic form. 무슨 차를 마시고 있어요? 이거 복숭아 차요. 복숭아. Peach tea. White peach tea. I guess you call 하얀 복숭아. Actually, don't know if they have a special word for white peach, but Billy, the roofs are like, oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, they do kind of look like hunger. Yeah. The roofs down there. I mean, yeah, down there. Totally not on my screen. Down there. Yeah, I see them. Okay. What's 멍? As in 멍하게. 멍 is when you are staring into nothing, thinking about nothing. That is 멍. So if you're like this, that's 멍. Sometimes they'll also use that as the onomatopoeia. I think it's the word. I think that's the right word. Or is it? There might be another sound word. Anyway, it's that kind of word that just emphasizes what's the word? Symbolizes, represents. That's the word I wanted. It represents staring into nothing, thinking about nothing. Just like when your mind goes blank, that's 멍. Let's see. The real question would be, why are you streaming? Here it is almost 3 p.m. Yeah, space out. That's right. That's what we'd say. Space out. I knew there was an English equivalent. How you look like with a hat? Well, I have a hat right now, so this is what I look like. 동생이 무섭게 저를 때렸어요. That's a different use of 무섭게. That's simply just scarily. Let's see. George, how much is ARS? How much is ARS? I actually don't know. ARS 100. Hold on, I gotta confirm that. Convert this. $1. Nice. Except I think you broke my board. I think my board doesn't understand. The value of that, so it's just like frozen. Okay, let me turn that off. Okay, there we go. Thank you. It's my first time. Greetings from Argentina. Isn't 멍멍 what dogs say? Yes, 멍멍 is also what dogs say, unrelated completely to 멍하다 or 멍, which is staring, space out or staring into nothing. 멍멍 is just to imitate the sound that dogs make, like woo, 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 like that sort of sound. So yeah, 멍멍 is also something dogs say, but that's not 멍하게 or any of those 멍 forms. Without a hat, what are you talking about? This is my hair. Haven't you seen JoJo? I can't take this thing off. That would hurt. 과자 is my favorite word. Guaja. Why'd you write it in the romanization? I could totally read it in the Korean. Manuel Sanchez asks, will you do a second part of North Korean dialect? No, I barely made it through the first part because researching North Korean dialect was a huge task for me. Obviously, I don't know any Koreans who speak North Korean dialect natively. There is no book, How to Speak North Korean or North Korean Made Simple. There is no resource online for how to learn North Korean dialect. So it was just myself having to go online and watch boring hours and hours of North Korean dramas to get ideas for phrases, reading lots of guides on phrases people say, and I found a dictionary that can kind of convert words. And yeah, it was just a lot of painful work to make that video. And yeah, there will not be a part 2 of that video ever. I can say never for that video. There will never be a part 2. Let's see. Should I learn vocabulary first before learning grammar rules? No. You wouldn't be able to. If I gave you right now a Korean dictionary and put you in Korea and told you that you could freeze time. So you are Quicksilver, right? Is that the character? The cool one. Not the Flash, the one that they made the funny scene. I think it's Quicksilver, the X-Men one. So you are Quicksilver, and I give you a Korean dictionary, and you can read Hangul. And I say, all right, you have to give a speech, and I put you in front of a crowd. Could you, with unlimited time, using just a dictionary, make a speech? No, never. It would never happen. You need grammar to use the verbs and words and all that stuff. Grammar is more important. When you've gotten a lot of grammar, then you can start thinking about, adding to your vocabulary for more words you can use in those grammar forms. Grammar is the foundation. The words are your decorations. The words are everything you put in your house to make it look pretty and sound good. But the grammar is what you need to even get. Maybe that's a bad analogy, a house, but a car. Okay. Grammar is your car parts. Vocabulary is your nice leather seats. Vocabulary is, a windshield, right? You can move from A to B with just grammar, but you can't look good doing it without vocabulary. So you need both of them, but grammar is going to be first. 바쁘게 집 밖으로 나갔어요. Savina. 동생이 옷을 갈아입기가 바쁘게 집 밖으로 나갔어요. Yes, immediately after my sibling got changed so fast and then rushed out the door. That sort of feeling. Yes. The question, what point does the hat end? It I don't know, maybe down here where I cut it. Okay. I don't think actual North Korean dramas are a thing. Yes, they are. You would be surprised. There's a lot of North Korean drama. They are, you can even find them on YouTube. It's not like they're hard to find. They are the most boring drama. Like, I grew up as a kid. Like I told you, my grandma was from Mexico. So she watched, whenever I would hang out with her, she loved Telemundo, I guess it's called. The Spanish soap operas. She would watch Spanish soap operas all the time. And when my wife was pregnant, we'd go, the place that we went to for her doctor, we had doctor appointments, was served a mainly Spanish-speaking community, and they always had Mexican soap operas on TV. I would watch Mexican soap operas all day before I would sit and watch 1 hour of North Korean drama. It's just terrible. And that's saying a lot. Yeah, actual North Korean, made in North Korea, not comedies. These are real. They're boring. The message of all of them is get married, have kids. I wish I were joking. I wish I were oversimplifying. That's it. Get married and have kids. And these are not young, attractive people. These are like guys and girls in their 50s. Now, no offense, I'm sure when I'm 50, I'll find them attractive, but not right now. And it's just it's the strangest thing, but it's not like, there's nothing you can get out of it. It's not like, oh, you get to watch this pretty girl and guy talk and hang out, and ooh, they're cooking. Oh, now they're getting in trouble. No, it's just like boring family drama. Propaganda. Yes, it is propaganda. Pretty much. I heard, okay, Opar Jom says, I heard that making a Korean diary is a good way to learn, but I don't know how to start. A Korean diary is just whatever grammar you're already learning. You write it down in practice sentences about things that you did during the day. It's going to be very limited. So when you're a beginner, it's going to be things like 오늘 저는 저의 친구를 만났어요. 저의 친구는 로버트입니다. Or 이에요. You know, if you know the depends on what forms you know. 저는 로버트와 햄버거를 먹었어요. 그리고 영화를 봤어요. 영화가 재밌었어요. 정말 좋은 하루였어요. It's going to be like really simple. But that's okay. That's the idea of a journal, is then you do that sort of stuff every day, or you talk about things you want to do, and then you get better grammar and you talk about, you know, your work. You can talk about desires you have, like or aspirations, what kind of things you want to do, your hobbies, whatever. And then you can look back and see where you started and see how your Korean has improved. But there is no special way to get started other than you do it, and you do it regularly, like once a day. You write a short journal, you know, 3 sentences minimum, and just what you did during the day or whatever. And then, like I said, as you learn more grammar, this will get longer and more complicated. And pretty soon you'll be writing, you know, half a page every day of a journal. There isn't really any trick to it. I'm understanding most of what he's saying. Oh, hopefully. Just imagine a North Korean version of Friends with a guy like Joey. Yeah. No one told us it would. Okay, I can't really sing that without getting copyright strike. I have to change it to something else. Okay. I am just bad at writing in diaries, no matter what language. Well, then don't do diaries. If you're bad at writing in diaries in any language and you don't enjoy it, then don't do it. It's not necessary to write a journal in that language you're learning as practice. You can get the exact same practice by just communicating with a friend everything that you did throughout the day. Your friend asks you in Korean, or you can tell your friend, hey, I'm going to tell you what I did today. You know, I just want to practice my Korean. You talk with them. I did this and I did this. And then they might ask a follow-up question. In fact, that's even better than writing in a journal because you get a follow-up question to what you're doing. The point is just that you're practicing the language, and a journal is just one way to do that. But it's not the best way. It's not an especially good way. It's just a way. Where are the private lesson signups on your website? They're not on my website. They're on a separate website called... Oh, let me post a link here. I think this is the right command for it. Anyway, it should post a link. Hopefully. Unless it's broken. We'll see. There we go. That's the link. I do have one spot available right now. It just depends because some people come and go, and right now I have about one open spot if you're interested for this week. How do I connect 2 sentences like, I woke up and then started cooking? There are several ways to do that. I have live streams about both of them. One way, the most basic way, is with 고, which means and or and then. This is probably the one you're going to want to use most of the time. If you just want to say, I did something and then did something else. The end. Easy. And then, cool. Take a verb stem. Remember, it's the verb stem. Not conjugated or anything. And you attach cool. So if you wanted to say, what was your sentence? I woke up and then started cooking. You would say, 일어나다 is to wake up. So, 일어나고, and then you finish the rest of the sentence. I woke up and then you would at the end say, 요리했어요, and I cooked. Or I started cooking, if you know that grammar form. You know, 요리하기 시작했어요, I started cooking. But just 일어나고 요리했어요. So I woke up and cooked. That's it. You can do another grammar form, but you'll learn later for 서, which also can work for this sort of thing. And has a similar usage, though meaning is slightly different. I have live classes about both of those forms, though, if you're curious. What are other ways to practice Korean daily? Judith asks, what are some other ways to practice Korean daily? I don't have any Korean speaking friends, and I don't like writing diaries. Judith, the best way to practice daily is with Korean friends. You said, I don't have any Korean speaking friends. Make them. Make Korean speaking friends. It is so easy these days. You can use a variety of apps, pen pal apps, there's several, or websites. There's a lot of popular websites where you can find Korean pen pals on. Just pick one, use it, make Korean friends. That is the best way that you can practice speaking Korean. You can start with writing Korean. If you're not yet confident to speak, you can practice chatting. But there is no other way to practice speaking that's going to be really effective except for actually practice speaking Korean. Now, another alternative could be, you could practice speaking to yourself. So when you're making example sentences for yourself while studying grammar forms, you can read those out loud. So that's kind of like speaking practice. But nothing beats actually using it. So you'll want to get some pen pals and you'll want to practice chatting with them and or speaking with them. But yeah, like I said, these days it is so easy to do that. There's no reason why you can't have at any point in time 10 or more Korean friends who you're actively practicing with, even if half of what you're doing is just speaking English so that there's something in it for them. The other half of the time you can speak in Korean. So that's going to be the best way. Everything else is just beneficial. It's just on top of that. But your practicing base should be you actually using the language. So like I said, making sentences and or making sentences directly to a Korean person. Okay. What is this week's thumbnail going to be? Oh, that's a good question. It's Valentine's Day. So I think I need to do this. I need to be over here so I can put something on the board. I think that's going to be the thumbnail. Or I could do like this. Let's see, maybe like right here. Okay, one of those two. You guys in the Discord, I'm going to post those thumbnails. You guys can vote on that thumbnail for today's video in the Discord. I will post it as soon as this live finishes. Make sure to join the Discord if you'd like to vote on that. Okay. I'll go on just a couple more minutes and then we'll stop for today. But if you have any other questions, there's still a couple minutes to ask. Ketiseni asks, how long do you think it takes for a beginner to learn Korean, good enough to be comfortable to hold a conversation? How long does it take to learn Korean is an impossible question to answer because it really depends 100% on how you're studying, how much you're studying, what are you studying, all of that. For one person, it might take 6 months of living in Korea. For another person, it could take 2 years of living in Korea. Another person might be a language genius and they're having conversations outside of Korea after only 6-8 months of studying. It really depends on you, how you're studying. So I can't give you an answer for that. If you are studying like 4 hours a day and that's like you're really practicing hard and you're chatting and everything with your Korean friends every day, and you're actually doing like an hour of practicing speaking every day, then I don't know, maybe 6 months to a year, somewhere in there would be probably a realistic estimate. But yeah, I can't really tell you for sure. Do the chew heart? Is that different than the regular heart? Is that like that? I don't know, maybe one of those. Okay. So now we have 3 thumbnails to pick from in the Discord. I'll post all of those. I suggest investing in Korean books. Books are fun. They'll get you good at reading Korean if you practice reading Korean. They're not going to get you better at speaking Korean, but they'll kind of help you with your reading comprehension because the way books are written is not the same way that people speak. And if you get a translated book, well, then you're not even going to get the right way of the style of speaking if there's quotes being used. Okay. Let's see. Do you think I could learn basic Korean by myself in maybe 3 months, studying 30 to 40 minutes a day? What do you mean by basic Korean? If you think basic conversational Korean, I would say no. Just to be blunt, that's too short. Not enough time every day. You can learn a lot of some basics in 3 months, but not quote unquote all the basics in 3 months. It's too short. The heart you made with your fingers. Okay, well I totally messed that one up. I don't even know what I was doing. Okay. Anyway, that's enough for the lesson. I don't want to go on too long. Thank you everyone for coming. Remember, if you are a member, members, check this channel tonight. You can watch the abridged version of this lesson and get a quick review in like 10 minutes. Thank you everyone for, also for people who donated today, Jewel, Lynn, and George, as well as Ha Dong-hyun. Thank you again, and I will see you again next time. 그럼 다음에 또 봐. Wait, I don't want that in my video. I have to edit. I don't want a dab being the last thing in my video. 그럼 다음에 또 봐. Okay.